The warehouse was supposed to be empty. At least, that's what Adrian Hale, the coldest, most feared underground logistics king in the city, believed. Midnight shadows stretched across the concrete floor, dust hanging in the air like a quiet warning. Adrian's footsteps echoed as he checked the shipment that had arrived hours earlier. And then he heard it. A soft sound. A breath that didn't belong to him. A whisper of fear tucked between the crates. Adrian froze. His men knew better than to make noise like that. This was someone else. Without a word, he drew the small weapon from his side and stepped silently between the rows of towering wooden pallets. His pulse didn't spike. His face didn't change. He was a man used to danger, used to killing when necessary. But what he wasn't used to was this. Behind one of the giant crates, curled into a small, trembling shape, was a girl. Not a thief, not a spy, not a trained enemy. A young woman in torn clothes, hugging her knees, her hair tangled, her eyes wide and shining with fear. She looked like she'd run for miles, or maybe escaped something worse. The second she saw Adrian, she gasped and covered her mouth to stop a sob. Adrian lifted the gun slightly, not because he wanted to shoot, but because he didn't understand why anyone would willingly come here. He studied her in the low warehouse light. She wasn't injured. She wasn't armed. She wasn't lying. She was terrified. "Stand up," he said, voice low, controlled. I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't know where else to go." Her voice cracked. Something inside him tightened. Confusion, curiosity, something unfamiliar. "Who are you?" he demanded. "My name is Lily." Her breath hitched. "Please, don't kill me." Adrian stared at her. He should have pulled the trigger. He should have called his men. He should have done what he always did with trespassers. But he didn't. He lowered the gun, and for reasons even he couldn't explain, he whispered the words he'd never said to anyone who broke into his world. "I'm not going to hurt you." Her eyes widened in disbelief. Adrian didn't know it yet, but this girl, this trembling stranger hiding in his warehouse, was about to change everything he thought he knew about danger, loyalty, and love. Because she wasn't running from him. She was running to him. And the men chasing her, they were much worse than he'd ever imagined. The warehouse lights buzzed softly above them as Lily stood trembling in front of Adrian. Dust floated through thin beams of moonlight, slipping between the metal panels of the roof. The air smelled like cold steel, damp concrete, and danger, something Lily had never known until tonight. Her hands shook visibly, and her breathing was uneven, like she'd been running for her life. Adrian watched every detail. Not just with suspicion, he studied her with the calculating eyes of a man who had learned to survive by reading people in seconds. But something about her expression made him pause. She didn't have the hardened look of someone who belonged in a place like this. Her clothes were dusty, her hair tangled, but her eyes, they were soft, innocent, terrified. Nothing like the criminals he dealt with every day. He slid the gun back into his holster slowly, making sure she saw the motion. "Stand up," he repeated, but this time his tone carried less threat and more command. Lily pushed herself up shakily. Her knees buckled, and she grabbed the edge of a crate to steady herself. Adrian stepped forward, instinctively, as though he meant to catch her, but stopped himself just inches away. He cleared his throat and stepped back, hiding the impulse. He didn't get involved. He didn't rescue people. He didn't let strangers into his world. Yet here she was. "Tell me why you're here," he said. Lily swallowed hard, fear tightening her throat. I wasn't trying to steal anything. I just needed somewhere to hide." "Hide from who?" She opened her mouth to answer, but nothing came out except a trembling breath. Her eyes flicked toward the shadowed doorway behind Adrian, not with fear of Adrian, but fear of something outside, something worse than him. Adrian noticed instantly. His jaw tightened. Someone followed you? Lily shook her head, then nodded, then shook it again. I don't know. They were chasing me, and this was the only door that wasn't locked. I thought it was abandoned. It isn't. Her cheeks flushed, embarrassed and frightened all at once. I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't be here. I didn't know where else to go. Adrian exhaled slowly, the breath heavy with irritation, calculation, and something else he didn't understand yet. Look at me, he said. Lily hesitated, then lifted her eyes to his. They were clearer now under the warehouse lights, large, soft, shining with unshed tears. Not manipulative, not calculating, just desperate. Something in Adrian's chest shifted. You don't belong in this part of town, he said. I know. Her voice was barely a whisper. I was running. I didn't have time to think. What happened? She swallowed hard, wringing her hands together. I saw something I shouldn't have. Adrian's brows lowered. What did you see? Lily pressed her back against the crate, breathing shakily. Men. In the alley behind my apartment. I heard shouting and then a gunshot. I didn't mean to look, but they saw me and they chased me. Adrian's eyes narrowed. Gunshot, chase, fear. He understood now, but the answer only raised more questions. And instead of going to the police, Adrian said slowly, you came here? Lily's voice cracked. I didn't know where I was running. I just kept moving. The streets got darker, and somehow I ended up here. I didn't plan it. Adrian watched her with a stillness that was almost unnerving. Lily didn't seem like a liar. She seemed like someone whose life had flipped upside down in minutes. A small sound escaped her chest, half sob, half breath. Please, I don't want to die. Adrian's expression didn't soften visually, but something behind his eyes did. Sit, he said quietly, pointing to a wooden crate. Lily blinked. What? Sit down, before you collapse. Her knees gave out the moment she obeyed, lowering herself onto the crate. She clutched her arms around her body, trembling again despite the warmth inside. Adrian took a slow step closer, watching her intently. No one is going to kill you here. Lily looked up at him, disbelief clouding her gaze. Why? Why are you helping me? Adrian looked away for just a second, only a second, before answering in a firm, low tone. Because if someone is chasing you, they are now on my property. His eyes lifted back to hers, sharp, dangerous. And I don't tolerate anyone bringing trouble to my doorstep. Lily's lips parted in surprise. She didn't realize it yet, but Adrian wasn't protecting her out of obligation. He was protecting her because something about her, her fear, her innocence, her trembling, quiet courage, had reached a part of him he thought had died long ago. And for the first time in years, Adrian Hale found himself unable to walk away, even from a stranger, even from a girl hiding in his warehouse. Lily sat on the crate with her hands clasped tightly together, as if letting go would cause her to fall apart. The warehouse felt colder now, despite the stillness in the air. Maybe it was her trembling. Maybe it was the silence that settled between them. Adrian stood a few feet away, arms crossed, his expression unreadable, studying her with the calm intensity of a man who always needed answers. He didn't speak right away. He let her catch her breath. He let her gather whatever fragile courage she had left. It was strange for him, waiting. Patience wasn't something Adrian practiced with strangers, but something about Lily held him still. She wasn't demanding. She wasn't trying to manipulate him. She was simply trying not to break. Finally, Adrian spoke. Start from the beginning. Lily nodded, wiping a tear from the corner of her eye with the back of her hand. I was leaving work, later than usual. I took the back alley because the streetlights on the main road were out. I've done it before. It was never dangerous. Adrian's jaw tightened slightly. You shouldn't walk alone at night. I know, she whispered, embarrassed. I didn't think anything would happen. She paused, gathering her breath. I heard voices, 2 men shouting at someone. I thought it was just an argument, until I heard the gunshot. Lily shuddered at the memory. I shouldn't have looked, but my instincts were faster than my brain. I saw 1 man fall, and the others saw me. Her eyes shimmered again, and they started chasing me. Adrian remained silent, but inside a low burn began under his ribs, an anger that wasn't directed at her, but at whoever had terrified her like this. You said you don't know who they are, Adrian asked. Lily shook her head. Just men, maybe 3 of them. They looked dangerous, the kind of men who don't hesitate to... Her voice broke again. I shouldn't have seen anything. Adrian stepped closer before he realized he'd moved. Lily tensed, expecting anger or worse, but his voice was deep, steady. Look at me. She lifted her gaze, fear still lingering in her eyes. You didn't do anything wrong, Adrian said. You were in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's not your fault. Lily's breath caught. She wasn't expecting reassurance, not from a stranger, especially one with cold eyes and a gun at his side. But something in Adrian's voice made her believe he meant it. Listen carefully, Adrian continued, lowering his tone. If those men are still anywhere near here, my security will handle it. Security? Lily repeated, confused. Yes, Adrian said, simply, as though it should be obvious. Lily blinked, looking around the massive warehouse for the first time with clearer eyes. The crates were stacked with precision, labeled with barcodes, stamped with various shipping markings. There were surveillance cameras at the corners, discreet but visible. The place wasn't abandoned at all. It was organized, expensive, protected. Lily's stomach dropped. What exactly is this place? Adrian didn't answer immediately. His silence made her more nervous. Is it legal? She whispered. Adrian's lips twitched, not in amusement, but in disbelief. Would it make a difference if I said yes? She hesitated. Maybe. Adrian's gaze softened, just a fraction. It's a storage facility, for goods that are better left discreet. Her eyes widened. Discreet? He clarified, though his tone suggested the truth wasn't so simple. Not illegal, just private. Lily's heart thudded uncomfortably. She didn't fully understand what that meant, but she sensed this man lived in a world far more dangerous than she realized. Should I leave? She whispered suddenly. Maybe I shouldn't be here. I don't want to cause trouble for you. You are staying, Adrian interrupted, his voice firm but calm. Why? His jaw tightened, as if he didn't want to explain, but he did anyway. Because those men might still be out there, and until I know who they are and why they were chasing you, I'm not letting you walk back into the dark alone. Lily stared at him, stunned. But you don't even know me. No, Adrian said quietly, but I know danger when I see it, and I know that you're not the kind who can outrun it alone. Her breath trembled. Adrian took another step closer, not threatening, just grounding. You'll stay here until I figure out what's going on. Lily swallowed. And if I don't want to? Adrian leaned slightly closer, his voice lowering. Then you can leave. Her shoulders relaxed a little. But, he added, if you step outside and they're still waiting for you, he paused, meeting her eyes. I won't be there to protect you. Lily's heart skipped. He wasn't threatening her. He was warning her. And for some reason, She trusted him. "Okay," she whispered. "I'll stay." Adrian nodded once, the decision settling something inside him. He didn't know why, but he felt strangely relieved. Almost protective. Almost human. The warehouse hummed with a low mechanical sound as night deepened outside. Lily sat quietly on the crate, her shoulders tense but her breathing more steady now that the immediate fear had loosened its grip. Adrian stood near a steel table, pulling out a small communication device, something that looked more advanced than what normal warehouse staff would use. He pressed a button. "Marcus. Report." A moment of static that a calm male voice replied. "Perimeter's clear, no movement near the south entrance. Cameras show nothing unusual for the last 30 minutes. Lily exhaled in relief. Adrian, however, didn't relax. "Keep the patrols tight," Adrian said. "If anyone suspicious appears near the fences, restrain first, ask questions later." "Yes, sir." The call ended. Lily watched Adrian, her voice small. "You have security? Patrolling outside?" "Yes." He slipped the device back into his jacket. The warehouse felt different now. Less like a cold metal structure and more like a shelter carved out of the night. Lily sat quietly at the desk, Adrian's heavy jacket wrapped around her shoulders, its warmth comforting in a way she didn't expect. The faint hum of machines and distant footsteps blended into a sort of rhythm, one that made her heartbeat slow from panic into something more stable. She kept her eyes on the corner where Adrian had disappeared minutes earlier. She didn't know why she was waiting for him so desperately. Maybe because he was the first person tonight who hadn't tried to hurt her, or maybe because, in her fear and exhaustion, he was the only solid thing in a world that had suddenly become a nightmare. Lily took a shaky breath. Outside, the night was deep and silent, but inside the warehouse she could feel life moving, guards checking corridors, cameras streaming patterns, cold air shifting through vents. Everything seemed so controlled, so much like a world she didn't belong in. Footsteps echoed from the far side, slow, purposeful. She straightened immediately. Adrian emerged from a dark hallway, his eyes scanning her the moment he saw her, as if making sure she was still there, still safe, still breathing. Lily let out a breath she didn't realize she was holding. "Any trouble?" she asked quietly. "No," Adrian replied, though his voice carried a tension she hadn't heard earlier. "But the east cameras picked up something." Lily skipped. "What?" "A shadow. Too tall to be an animal. Too quick to be someone from my team." Lily's skin prickled. "Do you think it was one of the men chasing me?" Adrian didn't answer immediately. He stopped a few feet from her, crossing his arms. "It's a possibility." Fear tightened her chest again. "I didn't mean to bring danger here." "This isn't your fault," he cut in, firm but surprisingly gentle. "Whatever happened tonight, whatever you saw, it was never in your control." Lily lowered her gaze, her fingers gripping the fabric of his jacket. Adrian watched her for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then, unexpectedly, he pulled out one of the steel chairs and sat beside her again. Not across from her, beside her, as if he didn't want her to feel interrogated, as if he wanted her to feel safe. "Tell me something," he said quietly. "Did they say anything when they chased you?" Lily thought back, hard. "I heard one of them shout something like, 'Get her before she calls anyone.'" Adrian's eyes narrowed. "Did you call anyone?" "No," she whispered. "I didn't even have time to take out my phone. I just ran." "Good," Adrian said. "That means they weren't worried about who you're connected to. They just didn't want you talking." She shivered. "Talking about what I saw?" "Exactly." Her breath trembled. "So they really do want to kill me?" Adrian's voice dropped lower, steadier, almost protective. "They won't touch you." Lily blinked hard as emotion stung her eyes. He said it with such conviction, a conviction she didn't understand but desperately clung to. "But I'm a stranger. You don't know anything about me." "And yet," Adrian said quietly, "I know enough." "What do you mean?" "That you're not lying." His gaze softened slightly. "That you aren't part of anything dangerous, and that you're terrified." Lily looked down, her voice barely audible. Should I be? Adrian leaned forward slightly, his elbows resting on his knees. Yes, he said honestly, but not of me. Her eyes widened. You should be afraid of the people who chased you, Adrian continued, not the man who stopped them from finding you. Lily held his gaze, her chest tightening with a strange mixture of fear and relief. Before she could speak, Adrian's radio crackled again. Boss, Marcus's voice came through, more urgent this time. We've got movement at the south fence line. Adrian stood instantly, his posture shifting from calm protector to something colder, sharper. How many? 2 figures. They're staying low, trying not to trigger the motion sensors. Adrian's jaw tightened. They're persistent. Lily paled. Is it them? It might be, Adrian said. He turned to her. Stay here. Don't move. Adrian! The fear in her voice was unmistakable. He paused at the doorway. Lily stood from the chair, gripping the jacket tighter. Please, don't go out there alone. Adrian looked at her, his expression unreadable for a moment. Then his voice softened. I'm not going out there alone. My men are already moving. I'm just making sure they don't get past the fence. But what if they do? Adrian stepped closer, lowering his voice. Then they'll have to go through me first. Lily's breath caught. Not because he sounded angry, not because he sounded violent, but because he sounded like he meant every word. He took a step back, his gaze locking with hers. I'll be right back. Lily nodded shakily, though her heart ached with fear. Adrian turned toward the shadows, disappearing into the warehouse's dim corridors, moving with a lethal calm that sent chills down her spine. As the echoes of his footsteps faded, Lily sank back into the chair, pressing a hand over her chest. For the first time tonight, she realized something she didn't know how to feel about. She wasn't just afraid of the men chasing her. She was afraid of what she would do if Adrian didn't come back. The warehouse felt impossibly large without Adrian in it. Every distant clang, every low vibration of machinery, every echo from the far corners made Lily flinch. She sat still in the chair, her knees pulled up slightly, wrapping herself deeper into the jacket that still carried Adrian's faint scent. Clean, warm, and strangely grounding. The shadows seemed to stretch longer as time passed, as if the building itself was holding its breath with her. She tried to calm herself, to stay rational, but the truth was unbearable. Adrian was out there, somewhere in the dark, facing the same men who had chased her with murderous intent, men who would not hesitate, men who were relentless. She pressed a hand against her mouth, trying not to imagine the worst. She didn't know why she cared so much, why her chest tightened every time she pictured Adrian confronting danger, why she felt an ache that didn't make sense. He was a stranger, a dangerous one, a man feared by others, but he had shown her more compassion in one night than anyone had in months, and now the thought of losing him felt terrifying. The sound of boots approaching jolted her. Quick. Too quick. Lily stood immediately, backing toward the wall. Her breath hitched when the door flew open, flooding the room with cold light. Adrian stepped inside, his expression grim but steady. He wasn't hurt. Lily sagged in relief, knees weakening so suddenly she had to grip the edge of the desk to stay upright. They tried to get in, Adrian said, brushing dust from his sleeves. His voice was lower than before, edged with frustration, yet strangely calm. They weren't just looking for you, they were scanning the perimeter, checking the exits, making sure you couldn't escape. Her breath trembled. So they know I'm here. Adrian nodded once. Yes. Fear surged through her again. She wrapped her arms around herself, as if suddenly cold. What am I going to do? I can't go home, I can't go to the police, and now they know I'm here. Adrian's jaw tightened, and he moved closer, close enough that he could feel the shift in the air around him. You don't need to worry about where to go, he said. You're staying here tonight. Here? In the warehouse? In my office, he corrected, his voice gentle but firm. It locks from the inside. And you'll be safer than anywhere else in the city. She hesitated, absorbing his words. But why are you helping me? She asked quietly. You could have thrown me out. You could have let them take me. Adrian's gaze softened in a way she hadn't seen before, less guarded, less distant. I don't hurt innocent people, Lily. He paused. And you're not someone I can ignore. Her heartbeat stuttered. Why? Adrian stopped just a breath away from her. The overhead light cast a soft shadow across his face, highlighting the seriousness in his eyes. Because when I found you hiding behind those crates tonight, I saw fear, but I also saw something else. He exhaled slowly. Strength. Lily blinked, stunned. Strength? You ran when anyone else would have frozen. You fought to survive, and you walked into a world you didn't understand, hoping for safety where most people would expect danger. She swallowed, her throat tight. I didn't have a choice. It takes courage to admit that, Adrian murmured. The room fell quiet again. Too quiet. Lily glanced down at her hands. She whispered, So what now? Adrian straightened slightly. Now I need to figure out who those men are and why they're so desperate to silence you. He paused. And until I do, you're under my protection. Lily's eyes lifted, uncertainty shimmering there. What does that mean? Adrian said softly. That no one touches you, no one comes near you, and no one hurts you. Not while I'm alive. Her breath caught at the intensity of his words. Before she could respond, Marcus's voice crackled through the radio again, sounding more urgent this time. Boss, you need to see this. It's important. Adrian's expression hardened as he lifted the device. I'm coming. He turned back to Lily. Stay in this room, he instructed gently. Lock the door behind me. I'll return soon. Lily nodded, though dread twisted in her stomach. Be careful. Adrian's gaze lingered on her just a second longer than necessary, long enough for the room to feel warmer, quieter, heavier. Then he turned slightly, running a hand through his hair as if trying to regain the emotional distance he always kept. He failed. She could see it. Adrian was shaken too, though differently. She didn't know him well, but she knew enough to understand that he was a man who controlled everything. His world, his men, his emotions. Except, perhaps, when it came to her. He stepped closer, his voice lower now. They weren't just looking for you. They were scanning the perimeter, checking the exits, making sure you couldn't escape. Her breath trembled. So they know I'm here. Adrian nodded once. Yes. Fear surged through her again. She wrapped her arms around herself, as if suddenly cold. What am I going to do? I can't go home, I can't go to the police, and now they know I'm here. Adrian's jaw tightened, and he moved closer, close enough that she could feel the shift in the air around him. You don't need to worry about where to go, he said. You're staying here tonight. Here? In the warehouse? In my office, he corrected, his voice gentle but firm. It locks from the inside. And you'll be safer than anywhere else in the city. She hesitated, absorbing his words. But why are you helping me? She asked quietly. You could have thrown me out. You could have let them take me. Adrian's gaze softened in a way she hadn't seen before, less guarded, less distant. I don't hurt innocent people, Lily. He paused. And you're not someone I can ignore. Her heartbeat stuttered. Why? Adrian stopped just a breath away from her. The overhead light cast a soft shadow across his face, highlighting the seriousness in his eyes. Because when I found you hiding behind those crates tonight, I saw fear, but I also saw something else. He exhaled slowly. Strength. Lily blinked, stunned. Strength? You ran when anyone else would have frozen. You fought to survive, and you walked into a world you didn't understand, hoping for safety where most people would expect danger. She swallowed, her throat tight. I didn't have a choice. It takes courage to admit that, Adrian murmured. The room fell quiet again. Too quiet. Lily glanced down at her hands. She whispered, "So what now?" Adrian straightened slightly. "Now I need to figure out who those men are and why they're so desperate to silence you." He paused. "And until I do, you're under my protection." Lily's eyes lifted, uncertainty shimmering there. "What does that mean?" Adrian said softly, "That no one touches you, no one comes near you, and no one hurts you, not while I'm alive." Her breath caught at the intensity of his words. Before she could respond, Marcus's voice crackled through the radio again, sounding more urgent this time. "Boss, you need to see this. It's important." Adrian's expression hardened as he lifted the device. "I'm coming." He turned back to Lily, breathing out with such intensity. Lily's eyes widened. "Stay in this room," he instructed gently. "Lock the door behind me. I will return soon." Lily nodded, though dread twisted in her stomach. "Be careful." Adrian's gaze lingered on her just a second longer than necessary, long enough for something unspoken to pass between them. Then he stepped out of the room, the door closing softly. Lily locked it. Her hands trembled as she slid down to the floor, pulling her knees close. She didn't know what Adrian would find. She didn't know what was waiting outside. All she knew was this: she trusted him. And that terrified her more than anything. The hallway outside Adrian's office buzzed softly with the low hum of machinery and distant voices. But inside, the room was silent. Too silent. Lily sat on the cold floor for several minutes, listening to every tiny sound, hoping, praying that the footsteps she heard next would be Adrian's. Her heart felt fragile, beating in uneven bursts. She didn't want to admit it, even to herself, but a truth was lodging itself painfully inside her. She felt safer with him than she had in a long, long time. She stood slowly, pacing the room, unable to stay still. Her fingers trailed over the items on Adrian's desk: maps, files, a sleek black pen, and a half-finished cup of coffee still warm enough to tell her he'd been here recently. The scent of it mixed with his faint cologne in the air, grounding her more than she expected. She wondered what kind of man he was behind the reputation, behind the hardened shell, behind the power he carried so effortlessly. Because tonight, he wasn't the fearsome Adrian Hale people whispered about. Tonight, to her, he was something else entirely. A protector. A shield she didn't ask for but desperately needed. The sound of hurried footsteps approached. Lily froze. The knob turned once, then twice. Her breath hitched until she heard Adrian's voice through the door. "It's me." Relief washed over her so strongly that her knees nearly buckled. She unlocked the door immediately, pulling it open, but the moment she saw his face, her stomach clenched. His expression was darker than before, sharper, colder. Something had changed. "What happened?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Adrian stepped inside and shut the door behind him. He didn't speak for a moment. Instead, he walked past her, bracing his palms against the desk, his shoulders tense in a way she hadn't seen all night. "Adrian?" Lily repeated softly. He exhaled slowly, lifting his head but not turning toward her yet. "We found something on the South security feed." Lily's pulse raced. "Was it them?" "Yes." Adrian finally turned, meeting her gaze. "But there's more." She swallowed hard. "Tell me." He stepped closer. Too close. Lily felt her back brush against the wall behind her. Adrian wasn't trying to intimidate her, but there was an intensity in his eyes, a storm building just behind them. They weren't just searching the perimeter. They placed something near the fence. Her breath caught. What kind of something? A tracker. Adrian's voice was low.
They tagged my property so they can monitor movement. They want to know when you leave or if you try to escape." Fear tightened her chest again. She hugged herself instinctively. "They're hunting me." Adrian didn't deny it. Instead, he lifted a hand, not touching her, but close enough for her to feel the warmth. "Adrian, you need to tell me everything, no matter how small it seems. Anything you remember from tonight could save your life." She hesitated, her throat tightening. Memories of tonight's nightmare rushed forward like a flood, running, hiding, the man grabbing her wrist, the whispered threats, the gun in his hand, the flashing headlights, the warehouse door slamming behind her. She forced herself to breathe. "I told you. I didn't see their faces clearly. I only heard bits of what they said." Adrian's jaw flexed. "Then tell me what you heard." Lily looked down, her fingers trembling. One of them said, "Make sure she doesn't talk," and another said something like, "The boss wants her gone before sunrise." Adrian froze. A single chilling silence stretched across the room. He stepped back, running a hand over his mouth as he processed the information. "That means this isn't random. Someone powerful is behind this." Lily's voice cracked. "Do you think they know I saw something?" "Not think," Adrian corrected. "They're certain." Her knees weakened, and she sagged slightly against the wall. Adrian noticed immediately and stepped forward, his hands hovering near her shoulders, not touching her, just offering stability. "You're okay," he said softly. "I've got you." Lily looked up at him, her eyes shimmering. "But why me? I wasn't supposed to be there. I didn't mean to see anything. I didn't even want to be near—" "Stop." Adrian lifted a finger gently, not touching her lips, but close enough to silence her. "You don't deserve this. Whatever you saw, you didn't choose it, and I'm not letting anyone hurt you because of it." Her breath shook. "Why?" Adrian's expression softened in a way she'd never seen. Vulnerable, almost unguarded. "Because no one has ever looked at me the way you did when I found you behind those crates." Lily blinked, confused. "How did I look at you?" "Like you were my only chance," he said softly. "Like you trusted me, even when you shouldn't." Lily's cheeks warmed, not with embarrassment, but something deeper. "I didn't trust you because of your reputation. I trusted you because of how you looked at me. You didn't look angry, you looked worried." For a moment, Adrian didn't move. He didn't breathe. Then something shifted behind his eyes, something she didn't have a name for yet. Before either of them could speak, the radio crackled sharply. Marcus's voice came through, strained and urgent. "Boss, we've got a bigger problem. You need to come now." Adrian stepped back instantly, snapping into command mode. "What is it?" You're not going to believe this, but they left something else at the fence." "What?" Adrian demanded. "A message." Lily's heart dropped. "A message for who?" Marcus's voice came through again. "For the girl." Adrian's expression went cold as steel. He turned to Lily. "Stay behind me." And for the first time tonight, she didn't feel like a burden. She felt like someone he'd fight for, someone he wouldn't let go, someone who mattered.
Lily stayed close behind Adrian as they moved through the warehouse corridors, her heartbeat thundering in her ears. The cold metal walls, the distant clanging of machines, the echo of their footsteps, it all felt sharper now, edged with danger. She could feel Adrian's presence in front of her, steady and protective, every movement purposeful. He didn't rush, he didn't panic. He walked like a man who knew exactly what he was capable of and exactly what he would do if anyone dared come near her. When they reached the South Fence monitoring station, Marcus and two other guards stood waiting. Their tense expressions told Lily everything before Adrian even spoke. "What did they leave?" Adrian demanded. Marcus's jaw tightened as he handed a small clear plastic evidence bag to Adrian. Inside was a thin piece of paper, wrinkled, dirty, torn at the edges. Lily felt a chill crawl across her skin, her breath catching painfully as Adrian lifted the note closer to the light. The message was handwritten in dark slanted letters. "Give her to us before sunrise, or we take her from you." Lily's entire body went cold. Adrian didn't move for a long moment. The muscles in his jaw clenched so hard she could see the tension from where she stood. Slowly, very slowly, he folded the note back into the bag and handed it to Marcus. "Double security," Adrian said, his voice dangerous in a way Lily had never heard before. "Nobody gets near the girl, not a single step." Marcus nodded immediately. "Already on it." Adrian turned to Lily then. The anger in his face softened the moment his eyes met hers. "Are you all right?" She shook her head, her voice barely a breath. They know I'm here. They know you're protecting me. Adrian, they're threatening you now. This is my fault." "No." He stepped closer, his voice firm, steady, and warmer than before. "None of this is your fault, Lily." "But they'll hurt you. They'll hurt your men. I don't want anyone getting hurt because of me." Adrian stared at her with an expression she couldn't decipher, something strong, conflicted, and deeply protective. "You didn't choose this. They forced this on you, and I won't allow them to punish you for something you didn't do." "But, Lily," his voice dipped lower, gentler, "look at me." She lifted her eyes slowly. "You are not a burden." Adrian's words fell like a vow. "And I don't abandon people who need me." Her breath hitched as something warm spread through her chest. She wanted to believe him, she did, but fear twisted inside her again. "They won't stop, will they?" "No," Adrian said honestly, "but neither will I." A shiver ran down her spine. Marcus cleared his throat. "Boss, you should tell her the rest." Lily turned sharply. "The rest?" Adrian exhaled and faced her fully. "We checked the cameras again after we found the note." Her heartbeat quickened. "What did you see?" Adrian hesitated, just a fraction of a second, but enough to make her knees weaken. He stepped closer, as if physically preparing to shield her from what he was about to say. "They weren't just watching the fence, they were watching you." Lily felt her stomach drop. "Me?" Adrian nodded once. "Before you locked the office door, one of the cameras caught a figure standing far enough to stay hidden, but close enough to see that you were inside." Her breath stopped. Adrian continued. "They're tracking your movements. They want to know when you're vulnerable." Lily's hands trembled uncontrollably. Adrian noticed instantly. Without thinking, he stepped forward and gently took her hands in his, warming them, steadying them. The touch startled her, but she didn't pull away. She couldn't. His touch grounded her in a world that felt like it was slipping apart. "Lily," he said softly, "I know you're scared. Anyone would be. But you're not alone in this." Her eyes filled with tears she didn't want to shed. "Why are they doing this to me? I don't even know who they are." Adrian didn't look away. "We're going to find out." "But what if they get to me first?" she whispered, voice breaking. A shadow passed over Adrian's face. Dark, fierce, protective. "They won't." His grip tightened slightly, reassuring rather than restraining. "Not while I'm breathing." Something inside her cracked, not with fear, but with the painful relief of being believed, protected, valued. Tears spilled down her cheeks before she could stop them. Adrian lifted a hand slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, he brushed a tear from her face with the gentlest touch she'd ever felt. "You're safe with me," he said, voice barely above a whisper. For the first time since the nightmare started, Lily let herself lean forward, just slightly, just enough that Adrian's arms could steady her. He held her carefully, without pressure, without expectation, like she was something fragile he refused to let break. She closed her eyes, breathing in the faint scent of his jacket. "I'm scared," she admitted, her voice muffled. "I know," Adrian murmured. "But I won't let them hurt you. I swear it." She didn't know how long she stood there wrapped in the safety of someone she barely knew, but trusted more than anyone else. But eventually Adrian pulled back just enough to meet her eyes. "We need to go somewhere safer, not deeper into the warehouse." Lily frowned. "Then where?" Adrian's expression softened, hesitant for the first time. "My home," he said quietly. "You'll be safest there than anywhere else." Her breath caught in her throat. Adrian Hale, feared by the city, untouchable, unreadable, was inviting her into the one place no one ever entered, not even his closest men. The drive to Adrian's home felt unreal, like a dream stitched together by fear, exhaustion, and an unfamiliar sense of safety. The black SUV moved through the city streets in silence, its tinted windows hiding Lily from the dark world that hunted her. Adrian sat beside her, not speaking, but his presence filled every inch of the vehicle. His posture was tense, one elbow resting on the armrest, the other hand near the concealed weapon at his side, a silent promise that he was ready, at any moment, to protect her. Lily's gaze drifted to him from time to time. The passing streetlights illuminated his face in warm flashes, sharp jawline, steady eyes, a seriousness carved into him like stone. But beneath that seriousness, she sensed something unexpected. Worry. Not for himself, but for her. She didn't understand why someone like Adrian Hale, a man feared, respected, and untouchable, would care so deeply about her safety. She didn't understand why he had risked everything to shield her, but she felt something undeniable settling inside her. She trusted him, entirely. The SUV turned into a secluded neighborhood where tall iron gates protected massive estates hidden behind towering trees. Adrian's home wasn't loud or flashing like she expected. It was elegant, modern lines, stone walls, warm lights glowing from within. A home meant for someone who wanted solitude, not attention. When they stepped inside, Lily felt warmth envelop her instantly. The house smelled faintly of cedar and clean linen, the air soft and quiet. "This doesn't look like a crime lord's house," she whispered before she could stop herself. Adrian smirked, just barely. "I prefer privacy, not theatrics." He led her through a spacious living area, past tall windows and shelves lined with books instead of weapons. Lily's eyes widened. "You read?" "When I can't sleep, which is often." Lily almost smiled. He stopped at a guest room door and pushed it open gently. "You'll stay here tonight. The cameras are synced to my phone. No one can get near the house without me knowing." She stepped inside slowly. The room was soft, welcoming, cream linens, warm lighting, a plush rug under her feet. It was so peaceful compared to everything that had happened that her eyes stung with sudden tears. "Adrian," she whispered, turning toward him, "why are you doing all this for me? I don't even know you." Adrian's expression softened. He leaned his shoulder against the doorframe, his voice low and steady. "You're not a problem I can ignore, Lily." She blinked. "What does that mean?" "It means," he said slowly, "that something about you made me decide you're worth protecting." Her breath escaped shakily. "But I don't understand why." Adrian hesitated. The rare vulnerability in his eyes made her heart skip. "I don't fully understand it either." He stepped closer, his voice barely above a whisper. "But when I saw you hiding in my warehouse, something in me shifted, and I can't undo that." Lily swallowed hard, overwhelmed with emotion. "I don't want you to get hurt because of me." He shook his head. "I'm not afraid of getting hurt. I'm afraid of what will happen if I don't protect you." Before she could respond,
A loud vibration buzzed from Adrian's phone. His expression darkened instantly as he checked it. "Stay here," he said, his tone suddenly sharp. "What happened?" Lily asked, anxiety returning like a thunderstorm. Adrian's eyes lifted, colder than she'd ever seen them. The cameras picked up movement near the gate. Lily's heart stopped. "It's them, isn't it?" Adrian didn't answer directly. "Stay in this room. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone except me." He stepped out, closing the door with a soft but urgent finality. Lily immediately locked it, pressing her back to the wood as fear washed over her in waves. Her mind raced, images of the men, of the note, of being chased through the streets. She felt her breath trembling, her hands shaking uncontrollably. Minutes that felt like hours passed before footsteps echoed down the hallway. 2 sets. Were they Adrian's or someone else's? Then, Adrian. "Lily." Adrian's voice called softly through the door. She unlocked it instantly, throwing it open. Adrian stood there, breath slightly uneven, his eyes still fierce from confrontation. Relief flooded her. "What happened?" she whispered. Adrian stepped inside, closing the door behind him. "There were 2 men near the gate. They ran the moment my men approached. Did they see you? Doesn't matter. They're getting desperate." Lily felt dizzy, her knees shaky. Adrian caught her before she could fall, his hands warm and steady on her arms. She looked up at him, tears welling again. "I can't live like this," she said brokenly. "I can't keep hiding." "You won't have to," Adrian whispered, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear with breathtaking gentleness. "How?" "By finding out who they are and why they want you dead." Lily bit her lip. "And until then?" Adrian's voice softened into something dangerously tender. "Until then, you stay with me." Her heart fluttered painfully. "But why me, Adrian? Why do I matter to you?" He hesitated, then lowered his voice until it was almost a confession. "Because you walked into my world with fear in your eyes." He paused. "And somehow you made me want to be someone you didn't have to fear." Lily's breath caught. She didn't know what to say. She didn't know how to respond to something so raw, so honest, so unexpectedly gentle from a man like him. So she didn't speak. Instead, she stepped forward, just enough that her forehead lightly touched his chest. Adrian froze. Then slowly, carefully, his arms came around her, pulling her close, as if she were the one fragile thing he couldn't bear to lose. Outside, danger waited in the shadows, but in Adrian's arms, for the first time that night, Lily felt safe, truly safe. And though neither of them said it aloud, both felt it. This was only the beginning. Their story wasn't ending tonight. It was just starting.